I'm kicking the intro and
Yo, Longhairs, what up?
what up?
Welcome to Let It Ride. This is episode 86, and we're coming to you from the Longhairs Global Headquarters. I'm El Rubio. With me today is El Moreno.
Yeah, what's up, boys?
El Gustavo and Sherry and Brookie B are busy in the background, furiously fulfilling several metric tons of epic cleanse in ideal conditions, packaging them for your post to your position, following the long-awaited restock of the Longhairs shampoo and conditioner. Our guest on today's show is a professional tattoo artist in San Diego. He's a motorcycle riding, coffee drinking, meat smoking, weight lifting, metal banging, rap slanging, oil painting, child raising, mane hanging, husband and father who paints his little girl's fingernails on the weekends.
Yeah.
A renowned artist in the Southern California and West Coast tattoo communities. He is Alonzo Villa.
Yeah, what up, dog?
Thanks for having me, boys.
Dude, you are letting it ride.
Yeah,
Welcome to the
man.
show, man. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming in. So let's just get right into it. Let's just start off with the profession, fascinating profession. We had one of your colleagues in a few months ago, Matt.
Matty
I know you
Ice.
guys are, you guys are homies, good boys. But so you've been at it a little bit longer than him.
Yep.
You've been in the game since 2008. Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that.
And that's in San Diego here.
Yes.
And
My whole career has been here in San Diego.
okay, so kind of walk us through, like, what it's been like working in and becoming and forming into the tattoo artist you have over the years.
I would say it's a little bit easier being a local, getting
Okay.
into it, just because you have essentially a clientele base, like going to high school with people and middle school, depending on how far it backtracks.
Yeah.
You have people ready to go from the get-go of like, cheap tattoos, free tattoos, I'm in. I don't care what it is, like just run it.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of developed from there. So I was lucky enough to have essentially a clientele base of people that were hungry to get tattooed right from the jump. So from there, it was the hardest part was getting the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And that was a long road traveled of rejection of, I kind of went about it the wrong way, which was going to different shops asking to see if they wanted an apprentice. And it was just kind of like, beat feet, get out of here.
Really?
Until
No
I
thanks.
found- yeah, exactly.
A lot of no thank yous.
So yeah, Matt.
Lightly and nicely put, it was get out.
Okay.
And then I eventually, kind of right place at the right time, found my mentor, Sierra, who was able to take me in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
doing it for 12 years now. something
Okay.
like that. If you want to subtract it.
It's pretty rad that we've had two apprentices of Sierra's on the show.
Yeah.
And, Matt kind of told us about his experience and stuff. But so what was it like for you, kind of, because that's the big step, right? When you
Right.
become the apprentice, you're really committing to this life, this lifestyle. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you're not, you still have an out because you're an apprentice. If I guess you could quit, but that's like, this is the make or break it
Yeah.
kind of point to become a legit pro, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think my defining moment was even before I started tattooing, which was I knew a guy who I was going to community college with. He had gotten an apprenticeship, and at one point he was tattooing me, and he let me tattoo myself. And when I picked up that machine, I started tattooing. I was like, "Yep, this is it.
Okay.
Like, this is what I want to do." But it's amazing. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Especially because your mind is wanting to do things that your hand necessarily can't translate to. So there's definitely a little bit of a struggle at first getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was tough.
Yeah, man. I mean, like what we were kind of saying with Matt is like, it's a profession that, I mean, it's not like I'm not saying it's overlooked, but the complexity, the always on mentality that you have to have is what is, I think, overlooked a little bit. Like having that kind of, there is stress involved. You're going to put a piece of art on someone's body. It's going to be there forever. And like just dealing with that daily and stuff. And something he was, how he kind of dealt with it is, what he said he dealt with it was it's just constantly practicing, just always is like how he got into his flow and stuff. I mean, what is kind of your workflow? How do you deal with that stress, and how do you kind of manage the day-to-day of it?
Honestly, I eat it. Like as far as like the stress, it comes, and it's just trying to kind of breathe through it and work your way through it. That's really it. Like stressing about it and being in the moment. Yes, there is some stress that is involved, but it's just trying to plot out the course as far as like, okay, this is what I need to do, and just start checking off the boxes.
Yeah.
So that way you just don't have a mental breakdown in the middle of a tattoo. Like there are cases where things can go wrong in the process of it, like when you're actually working on somebody and they start freaking out, or you have to cut an appointment short. There's things like that, but for the most part, it's just trying to stay calm. And just, you have to be present. Like the second you start trying to turn your brain off is when something bad could happen.
Right.
And it has happened. So it's just like, you can't not focus on what you're doing.
Yeah. Has there been any like defining moments for you in that where you're like kind of, made you snap into a different mindset, or be like, hey, that error, I'm never doing that mistake again type thing,
There definitely has. I can't say that I have not.
Sure.
Up.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have. It's just a matter of how you recover from it.
Okay.
And then kind of learning from like, don't ever do that again. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, lesson learned. Check it off, and it's like, all right, just move on. Don't dwell on it too much, and just fix it. Deal with it.
So you started, I read just a little bit on an interview that had been published about you previously, that you were educating in graphic design for a little bit. You're very much into oil painting, but you kind of felt that the tattoo industry was just pulling you stronger than any of those other. But you still do quite a bit of oil painting.
I
and some graphic design, looking at our recent
our sweet pins.
That actually, so those were done on Procreate. So I was able to just kind of hand draw that stuff, and then my amazing wife was able to kind of fine tune it through Illustrator, and then they sent it off to the company to get it done. But she's more of now she's taken over, and she's become more of the tech savvy person, because she's a photographer and graphic designer, web designer, all that stuff. So she's the pro in that. So I just hand it off to her.
Great.
Because there's times I start working on it and I just want to take my computer and throw it.
Yeah.
So I do enough to be able to get by with, collaging things together for tattoos, and either that or some type of banner or things like that. I can generally get away with. Anything that's more complex, I'd rather hand it off to somebody else that knows what they're doing and call it good.
Yeah.
Great. Speaking to your style a little bit, on your website, which is alonzovilla.com, you specialize in illustrative realism, portraits, pop culture. Want you to tell us a little bit more about your style, but when you start, like when you first, you don't have a style when you start, right? You kind of have to grow into your style through experience. And how have you come to this point where these are some of your favorite types of tattoos?
I think from the start, I was really interested in Japanese. And then from there, I was kind of learning a little bit of that. And I didn't really necessarily have someone who was like traditional Japanese, just because, like, for me, I wanted to learn every like inch of it and know the meanings of things. And I didn't necessarily have anyone that I could fall on to be able to tell me like, hey, that like this needs to go this way because of this, or this this image can't be above this image. So there's certain things like that I wanted to be able to follow the rules with, and I wasn't able to do so. So then I started kind of branching out just to see what there was. And of course, when you're an apprentice and just a walk-in artist, you're taking on a lot of things, and it's anything and everything.
Right.
It's yes, let's do it.
Yeah,
anything you can.
So long as it's kind of within your wheelhouse. If it's outside of that, you have to kind of disclaim like, hey, I don't really do that this often. If you're still down, like, let's do it. Which then you're able to kind of get a little bit more experience out of. But I took a seminar where it was like photorealism stuff, and that was starting to kind of get traction. And then once I did that seminar, I came home and I started tattooing a little bit more of that realism. I was like, oh shit, okay, like this is great. Like, I like doing it. But then the fine tuning of it was just years of seeing people, being here in San Diego, being at the beach, like getting just beat to hell as far as their tattoos, and coming back, and it's just charred. So it's like you have things that a lot of this photorealism has a lot of white to it, and so anything that has a white base will get damaged if it's out in the sun long enough. So it'll turn brown or tan.
Yeah.
So then it's like you take this beautiful master painting and you stick it outside in the sun. What's going to happen to it?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
going to be
It's
ruined.
not going to look good.
Yeah.
So then it's like just over the years kind of modifying it and seeing, okay, like I know I should put a black outline around certain things just for longevity's sake, just to make things, even though they do get a little bit more dull, it looks a bit brighter because you have that dark to contrast. Then it started kind of melding with the pop culture stuff of like, let's take Estelle Getty from Golden Girls and put her on Mary's body.
Yes.
And then I just did one recently where it's like
The Rambo,
The
right?
Rambo, I was just
Dude,
about to say that.
yeah, I gotta
Dude,
pull
that's
that
so
one
good.
up. That's
his
so
dog's
good.
name is Rambo, and it's funny
Look
because
at this
Rambo
guy.
is female, and then we stuck him on Sylvester Stallone with the M60.
It's
great.
so
Are
nailed.
you pulling up some of his work?
Yeah, I just cut. I'm showing it on the screen here.
Dude,
yeah.
that was great.
Yeah.
I just saw that one.
And then even like the Stormtrooper Buddha, the work that I like to do is it's like I'm almost laughing the entire time because it's fun.
Yeah.
Yes, it is still stressful because I'm trying to nail that look. So there's stress in that, but at the same time, it brings me so much joy to do it,
Yeah.
and the client is just absolutely stoked on it, especially when like they're showing it off, and it's a bit vain, because there you go to show it off, and everybody's just like, "Oh, my
sick!"
God.
Yeah.
So that's what like we look for that, and then also it's kind of raises a question, not just like, "Oh, cool,
Talking
toy.
piece. Yeah.
Oh, cool,
Sure.
you have a butterfly."
Yeah.
Not to hate on those, but it's like if it engages in a conversation, that's what kind of I like to get going.
You have the
It's
Terminator on your shoulder.
exactly.
I saw that one was dope.
Oh, the T.
Yeah.
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 And it's got I think we did I think it was just a random skyline. I think it was either that one or I did one of the show The Arrow. We did the San Diego skyline underneath him where it's like the city's burning.
Sick.
Oh, nice.
So we kind of threw in a little bit of San Diego into it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's rad.
What are some other like cool pop culture ones that you can recall?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you got your Disney, right?
Yeah,
Is a
I
big
do a ton of Disney work.
Yeah.
I actually
Star
have
Wars, huge.
a lot of Star Wars. I have
Oh, Woody, the Disney one. This is phenomenal.
I have a lot of that stuff going. I actually have a more of a stylized Golden Girls piece that I'm working on currently.
No way.
And then I actually have. I'm pretty excited about this just because it's hilarious. It's from Bob's Burgers. She wanted to get Ursula.
Okay.
When I was looking at the tattoo that she already had, she had Tina Belcher as Ariel from The Mermaid.
Yeah.
So we're doing Ursula, but it's going to be what's her name? Tammy.
Okay,
It's
from
Tina's
the
arch
burgers.
nemesis, yeah, from Bob's Burgers. So we're because she already has that big, thick, like Mimi eyeshadow.
Yeah.
In the cartoon, so it works perfect for Ursula. So we're gonna do something like that.
Dude, that's
You're
cool.
pretty-
So those kind of mashups, I guess, if for lack.
Who's this?
That is my friend Gary's grandparents.
Okay, so this is like a personal.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
I didn't know if it was like John Dillinger or
No,
something.
no.
It's got that old classic feel to it.
No, those are great too, just because they're any photograph that's like from 40s to 60s in that time frame, they're just dramatic in lighting. They're unedited. Although they can be small, they're clear. So it's like that image that you get is perfect for a tattoo. Whereas
Okay,
now
yeah.
everything is like, right now I have a light pointed at me and
Yeah.
it's washing out any kind of shadow that I have.
Right.
Whereas then it's like they pick the one light source. They don't care if you have wrinkles. It's like your photo is your photo and that's that. Like, don't make me look like I'm 30 years younger. Just
Okay.
send it.
Yeah.
That's it. So when they
Okay.
come in with these photos, they're amazing because they're ready to go. I don't have to alter them in any way. I don't have to bump the contrast or saturate more or less or try to create a nostril for them that they didn't have in the photo. So it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now, do you prefer the black, like those kind of that style, or the really depth color and?
I enjoy doing both, but it's a bit of an interview process with my clients just because of the effects of color versus black and gray, depending on what they do.
Okay.
So if they're out in the sun a lot, if they
Yeah.
like to work out, or if they just are working out in the sun and they're visibly tan, I'm like, I'm doing black and gray,
Okay.
or not unless you have a spot on you that is bright white. And it's more or less just the longevity's sake, because it can look really good when I'm done with it, but the second they walk out, if they're just going back to old habits of being out in the sun, it's boom, done. And it's just charred, and it looks terrible.
Oh,
Terrible.
And that's not the reflection that you want on your
and
on
there's
your work.
the reputation to carry of, like, that this is the work.
Yeah.
So when somebody else looks at it like, oh,
Yeah.
what happened?
You don't want them to say that.
Right.
Look, I don't know. It's just, my artist did something, and now it looks
Oh,
like
that-
this. It's
yeah,
like, no,
now
you
they
were out
put
in
it
the
on
sun
you.
for an entire day, and you really baked it there, bud.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense of like being just kind of picky with your clients, right?
Yeah.
So you get to a certain point at your career, maybe you could speak on like when you kind of know, maybe when your demand is high enough where you could turning people away, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's that. You get a high enough demand, and then once you start kind of catering to a certain style, like for me, it got to the point where I was getting some certain requests that it was a bit outside my realm.
Okay.
I can do it. Yes, I can replicate whatever they're bringing me in. However, if there's somebody else out there that can do a way better job, I'm going to refer them to them.
Yeah.
Just because I know they're going to give them the best tattoo possible in that style.
Yeah.
And then just kind of outsource stuff. It's like, well, go talk to my buddy here, go talk to this person there.
Cool.
If you want to do this, what I do, that's awesome. Like, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Now, when you bring a client on, are you looking for like a long-term relationship? Like, would you like to do 2-3 pieces, or does a one-off still cool with you too? Like, how does that work for you?
It just depends on the person and their motive. Like, some people want to come in and they just want to get like a 1 to 2 sitting tattoo, and that's it, and walk away. And they might have collected other tattoos from other people, or some people are just like, I'm in it, let's do it. Like, let's start off with a sleeve, and then let's go from there. Let's start off with this piece, and then we're gonna turn this into a back, or something like that. Like, I have one client right now that I did one tattoo on one side of her ribs, and now we're doing the opposite. So it's taking up the majority of her ribs, and now it's going to go run down onto her hip and further down. And now it's just kind of, some people, it just needs that little like push to kind of get the gears going, and they're fully committed.
Dude,
but
that's
I'm okay
rad.
with, there's the short-term gratification of just like one and done. If it takes me 6 hours to do it, great. It doesn't matter. It's just like, this is done, photo, done. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other times where it can stretch on a little bit, and it's trying to keep that same consistency and motivation through a piece that is maybe 8 sessions.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's the end goal in mind, and once you get there, it's amazing. It's awesome, because you're like, awesome, that's done. Let's move on. But it's just trying to kind of stick with it and keep that consistency and that drive and that energy throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of keeping the client motivated too. Especially, it's like, well, here's another session of just shading over the same thing. Well, what did we do exactly? I can tell what we did, but they necessarily can't, because they're either bleeding or they just, to them, it looks the same until it's healed, and they're like, oh, I see what you did. And that was the one big thing that I learned from my previous shop, is kind of taking that extra step of adding a different either tone on top of all the colors that you've done, or even your black and gray, to give it a little extra depth, makes a huge difference.
Okay.
To where it turns a really good tattoo into a interstellar looking thing.
Yeah.
That's the one big thing that blew my mind.
So it's like a polished kind of pass that you take. Yeah. Okay.
It's like just putting that like finishing touch on it makes it like that much more intense.
Totally.
And you're always kind of compelled to do that, because it's a lifetime type of work. You
Yeah.
always want to give it like your most polished, finished effort. You mentioned you've worked for a number of awesome shops in San Diego, but now you have your own shop with a couple of partners. It's Cloak and Lantern.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your shop.
And that's what these pins
This is
are.
a private-
That's just because we
So
showed these
we're
earlier.
a private studio. I have 2 other partners. His name is Kevin Dickinson and Natasha Dickinson. They're obviously husband and wife. And we just wanted a place to be able to focus on our artwork, where we could, there's times where we're working all next to each other, kind of like how we're sitting right now, but it could be dead silent. And so we just needed a place to be able to focus on our work and mitigate any kind of distractions and just eliminate all that. So it's been really nice to have that shared quiet space. So we know when we can BS, and we know when it's time to just like zip it and get to work.
Focus in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One, I use the word shop. It's a private studio, so you don't have walk-ins, which
Correct.
is there's good and pros and cons to
Right.
having walk-ins. Obviously, more clientele visibility, but not having them means you can really focus on whatever you're doing in a
Right.
given day, whether you're with a client or preparing for a client or whatever you're doing.
Nowadays, the walk-in traffic aspect of it, I mean, now it's pretty much non-existent due to COVID.
Yeah.
But even prior to that, it's just all social media. It's just all on web presence. That's the big thing now. It doesn't matter if you, well, yes, it does. I can't necessarily say that, because going out to bars and places and socializing with people is still a big thing, because seeing the tangible, like, oh my God, who did that?
Yeah.
That sparks it. But then also just the mass presence of Instagram, having that on there, having a good website, doing all your SEO stuff.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. So it's like really having a private studio. It's that worry of not having walk-in traffic was there for just a tiny little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But really, when you got down to it, like breaking down, like, where is my traffic coming from? It's like, it's from Google search, my website, and through Instagram.
Yeah.
It's not really a whole lot of people walking in, like flipping through books and like, I like
It's your
this
DMs
guy.
now, huh?
Yeah.
It's like all your DMs.
Which even that in itself is like trying to deal with Facebook, DM,
Oh,
email.
man.
Like, oh God, it was a nightmare.
believe
That's
it.
interesting, especially with COVID. I wonder if more artists are gonna kind of take that approach of like getting a small little secluded
I
space
feel my
instead
friends
of
have
being
already
in a
done
shop.
that, to where it's, I mean, the owner, although whether they be for it or against it, everything going on, it's still a liability for them. Like, there's a shop here in San Diego that got hit with a $10,000 fine for being open during that time when we were supposed to be closed.
Gosh dang.
So that's heavy. So
It
whether
could take
they
you out.
are
10 grand,
for
like,
it or against it, it's like, well, with insurance, so like if somebody claims that they got COVID from your place of business, you could be screwed.
Totally.
So then they're just like, you know what, we got to shut down, and everybody has to do what they got to do, whether they're tattooing at houses or they're just not tattooing at all.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
It's almost just not worth the risk.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's
And even outside of COVID, even slip and fall, or there's lots of other liability that comes with a shop.
Yeah.
And even outside of the whole coronavirus thing, having a place, then you got rent, and there's just a lot to consider going into it.
Yeah, especially when people are very like lawsuit happy. All you need is somebody to slip and fall in front of your place.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you're going to hear from my lawyer. You're screwed.
Yeah.
Or you have to kiss butt so hard that you're just giving them everything. It's like, here you go. Here, are you happy now? You want more? Okay, here you go. Okay. Until something
forever.
suffices, yeah.
Cloak and Lantern, killer name though. How'd you guys? What does it mean? How'd you guys end up on that?
Oh man, that was a whole process of trying to come up with a name. I think it took a while during the manifestation of the process. Like, to even we had our name signed on the lease, and it was just trying to. I think it was like 2 or 3 month process of like, what do you guys think of this? No. Or what do you think of this? It's like either 2 yeses and 1 no, or just no one was for it. And then trying to look up different meanings to different words and the synonyms. So it's like, what if we use this word and then we put this word? It's like, no, that's a horrible idea. So finally we came to that conclusion, and Kevin was the one that came up with the name. And it's kind of more or less, it's like hidden in plain sight. So kind of going off the Cloak and Dagger type thing. So our shop, you can't necessarily tell that we're a tattoo shop because we're on a second floor. We have our windows tinted, so you can't necessarily see in. There's nothing flashy about it. It's just, it looks like an office building. So that's what's nice. So that way you don't have random people going, oh, this is a tattoo shop. Can I come in? And then here we are going, no.
Yeah.
Or we had a couple people. It was before there was another business, so there's people knocking on our door looking for the business that was downstairs, and they're like, oh, do you do tattoos? And I'm like, yes we do.
Kind of.
Oh, can we
Sometimes.
get tattoos? Like, well, actually you have to go online and they're, oh, well, can I get tattooed this week? No, I'm sorry, you can't.
But go check out the site and
Check it out.
Fill out my
hopefully-
form.
Go
Maybe
through
we
the
could set up a console.
protocols.
Which
Yeah.
even that's been great with a consultation like form.
Yeah.
If people don't want to fill that out, well then that's already like one check off. The
Yeah,
box.
you're
It's
already like
Red
a ding.
flagged.
It's a ding on the interview already.
If you refuse to do it, then this is not going to work out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a great.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things where it's red flags for us. It's like, if you can't follow instructions, then how can I trust that you walking out of the door, you're going to be able to follow instructions, so that way your tattoo heals properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't follow that instruction, that I definitely know you're going to be out in the sun jumping in the pool the next day after your tattoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hitting the
I got
beach
staph
hard.
infection. What did you
Dude,
do? It's
check
like,
it.
What did you do? Oh, you jumped in the pool? That's weird.
Dude, this year has got to be just really tough on the whole tattoo industry. I mean, we've touched on COVID and the closing down and stuff, but what do you kind of foresee how this changes the tattoo industry? Like, I mean, is it going to kill off a lot of big guys? Like, and then, what's happening out there right now?
It's two things. It's going to start going a little bit more underground.
Okay.
Meaning that more people are opening up private studios, because now if a shop is closed and they're having to fend for themselves, like if they weren't able to get any kind of independent contractor unemployment or have any kind of benefits like that, then it's like, well, I gotta hustle somehow. So either I'm gonna do it out of my house, or I'm gonna get a private studio to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I would say years ago it was definitely not frowned upon, that's not the right word, but a lot of people would hate on you for opening up your own little private studio, because then they would say like, oh, they're too good to hang out with other tattooers, kind of thing. Like, it was counter snooty, if you will. And now everybody's like, I'm just opening up my own place. Like, why do I want to pay a commission if I'm already so far along in my career that I don't need to pay that commission anymore? Like, I just want to make the money for myself. I either have a family, or I have an end game. So I'm busy enough on my own. I'm bringing my own traffic, so I might as well just take it somewhere else.
Yeah. And that's the security aspect of your career choice, right? I mean, especially coming up. I'm sure with you 12 years in the game, you've able to save. You got you probably got health insurance. I'd hope and stuff. But like, as a new guy, I mean, it's got to be so rough.
And even when I started, I was like, holy crap! Like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have any health insurance, like no benefits. I have to pay everything out of pocket. So that was terrifying, but at the same time motivating. It's like, I don't want to be sitting around all day not doing anything. So I have to figure this out.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of stress involved. I didn't try and let that eat away at me too much. It was just kind of like, all right, what are my goals? What do I want to do when I'm X amount of years old? I don't want to be 70 years old tattooing. Like, yeah, I'd still like to be in it a little bit. But I don't necessarily want to be bending over
like that. You got to survive
hustling
still,
to do some tattoos. But for me, like, fortunate enough to have my wife who has a really good job. So I'm piggybacking off of her insurance. And then in terms of saving money, like, I lucked out because now I've kind of flipped things around, whereas my early 20s, I was in that mindset of like, I'm making my money, I'm working hard, like, I'm just gonna spend it. Yeah. And then it got to the point where it's like, I need to stop doing that, and now I'm in debt. So we had a nice little chunk of change set aside, and then the lockdown happened. So I was like, okay, well, I had this cushion, and we were originally gonna pay off debt. And it's like, well, now we have this as a fallback, so that way we're okay. We can still pay our rent, like, we can still just kind of relax for a little bit. So that was nice. But a lot of tattooers,
we're not in that situation.
They're not in that mindset. And I think that's an important thing to talk about, is like, dude, like, I know you think that you're live fast, die young kind of thing. But you got to save some money. Put like a little bit of money aside every tattoo that you do, or every week or something. So that way you have a cushion, and you're not like, the second you stop tattooing, it's like, well, I'm broke.
Right. Yeah.
But you tattoo 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. Like, how are you broke? Well, I go straight to the bar. I do this. I eat takeout. I'm buying a bunch of random crap that I don't need.
Got super nice new cars or something.
Exactly, yeah. They're flaunting all this stuff. It's like, well, you're broke, dude. Like, and you're eating cup of noodles every day. Like, what are you doing?
Not where you want to be.
So I going back to the original question, I think that it might weed out some people, and then it'll intensify others. It's like, I got to hit it hard. Like, if I really, really want to do this, I got to
strengthen their game, their pursuit in the career. That's awesome.
But even now, I know with tattoo shops that have that walk-in status, so what ends up happening is you have the shop owner, whether they tattoo or not, their employees are technically independent contractors.
Right.
Well, now they passed a bill to where independent contractors have to be doing something completely different from the business.
AB5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's screwing with a lot of shop owners, which means that
That kills the shop.
tumultuous.
So independent contractors for tattooers, they're now employees. So they need to have benefits and they need to have some form of hourly or salary. So that screws with a lot of people.
Yeah, that's tough.
I've even heard rumor of certain shops where it's like hearing the hourly rate is like, holy crap, you're doing for so little. And then it's like, well, how much are you charging for your tattoos now? Or I don't know how the whole process is going to be, but that's the most terrifying thing. So we're looking at it now going like, we got out at the right time.
Yeah,
so it's like, we're just on our own. We're doing our own thing independently and we don't have to pay a commission.
Right.
So we're just completely on our own.
Yeah. Do you want one of those?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Dude, definitely just a big time of change, and especially for your guys' industry. Really kind of fascinating to hear your whole outlook, and I think it's awesome that you kind of want to preach to the younger guys too, coming up, like being smart with your money. Hey, here's like kind of what you guys should be really thinking about. I think that's great. Is there like programs out there for your industry, or is that kind of weird, or what? Like that, I could see that being something cool that you could start instead of being a mentor for just the art itself, being a mentor for this is how you run
profession.
a tattoo business.
The hardest part about that is trying to get people on board. If they're not like-minded or wanting the change, they're not going to be accepting of the change, where they're very, very skeptical. It's like, who's this clown trying to take my money?
Right.
And then it's also them being a bit more legitimate, where I can't necessarily speak for everyone, but most of the tattooers I used to work with were cash only, and they didn't do anything on the books. Like they want to just completely try and fly under the radar. Whereas now it's like you kind of need to claim something in order, if you want to rent a house or rent an apartment or you want to buy a car or whatever, like you need to have some form of backup. And most guys are like, no, I'm not doing my taxes cash only. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just a matter of reaching out to the people that want to hear it and grabbing those. But I started out with one of my old coworkers, Mateo. He had brought in his financial advisor, and so he talked to a few of us, and that kind of just got the ball rolling.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
I need to figure out
Yeah.
what to do. Like, what's my end game retirement plan? Like, how much do I need to start setting aside a month? Like, all those things. Like, I need to clear this away so that way I can have a good presence.
Yeah.
Like, start the whole like investing stuff, and that I don't know too much about, but and then there's also like signing up for disability and then my life insurance.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
Dude, two huge ones right there.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like this is going to affect the profession in a pretty profound way. Like if you're not a professional and if you're not doing all those things, like it's going to create a gap between if you're just like a part-time guy just doing a little, and like you're not going to make it, or you're going to go in another direction. It's just not, it's going to create a gap where you have to be at this minimum standard. So maybe a byproduct is there's going to be more professional artists instead of just street guys. Like the street guys aren't going to survive through this much longer. And I just say street guys, like
we call them like kitchen magicians or scratchers.
Okay.
The dudes that are doing it out of their house that are illegitimate, we just refer to them as scratchers. But honestly, I can't hate on them just because there's been out of them have come out some really good artists.
Yeah,
so they started from that point and they worked their way up. But those were hustlers. They were hungry. Like they wanted to do it, and like it's this or death. Like that is it. And so they chose that path. Whereas some guys are like, they like tattooing because they like the hustle and they want to make some money, but that's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's professionals out there that are like that too, and that's the one thing that I hate dearly about the industry is that there's people that are just trying to squeeze every penny out of people.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, those guys will either continue doing what they're doing or they'll fizzle out a little bit. And not to mention too, the medical supplies have gone up. So
so your cost,
everything.
The cost of work has gone up because of that.
Yeah.
So it's like not everybody can afford a case of gloves.
No.
Or how are you cleaning your equipment? Whether you actually care to that extent to clean and sanitize everything, but the price on that has gone up.
Yeah.
And just everything is becoming a little bit harder to come by. So I'd be curious to see what's going to happen either by the end of this year or the year following. Like how much are we going to be paying for a box of gloves?
Dude. Yeah.
The real pros are going to get it, and they're going
Yeah.
to figure it out, and they're going to have their gloves and their sanitization and have their processes all dialed in and their prices accordingly because you have to charge a little bit more. You know, the real pros are going to get it, and just you being aware of all those things obviously is the first step.
Yeah.
And being able to do it all is going to be another one. But I think you're going to be one of the pros, man. I think you're obviously an excellent artist, but you obviously have a passion for the profession as well, and we'll be pretty surprised if you're not hanging in here doing work on people. Speaking of hair,
Okay.
which we weren't, but immediately when you walked in, man, your hair is just tight. It looks great.
Yeah.
You got it combed back nicely. I mean, there's not a single little hair sticking
know,
out.
look at that.
The hairline is just robust. I mean, you got it going on, man.
Yeah.
What's you did not have long hair when we met. You did previously, I think,
So
years ago,
we
right?
met
It would have been maybe
probably
5,
20
because
6.
you were still in Little Italy.
15.
Yeah, 2014, 2015.
So that was,
2014,
what,
6 years ago.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. And that was probably I think right around the time either Matt became full-fledged or
I think
right
so.
about
It was.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Jeez, time flies. Ugh. I think a gray hair just sprouted.
We can't see it.
They're there. They're buried in there. I'm sorry. Question again.
Tell us when you started
It's your
growing your
hair
hair. Just
journey.
give us your hair journey.
So I've gone through so many different hair growths, like in terms of like I've grown out my hair and chopped it off. I did it back when I was in middle school, high school, and then a couple times after, like in my adult life. And at one point, I think when you guys met me, I had started growing out my hair, but I think the one thing that kind of pulled me away from it is I was also about 70, 75 pounds heavier. So that, like me being unhealthy, having the long hair, and just I looked like a mess and I felt like a mess. And the one day I was at the point where my ponytail, like it needed help, so I needed to put clips in the back.
Yeah.
And there was just one day that I just didn't have the time to mess with it, so I was like, screw it, I'm wearing my hair down. And for me, I know it's funny because I have long hair, but I hate when my hair touches the back of my neck. Especially right now, it's collected all at the neck. Like if it was past it, I'd be fine. But right now, it drives me insane. Like I'm like holding clippers in my hand. Like, don't do it. But at that point, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm running late. I'm gonna wear my hair down. And that day, like, broke me because I could feel the heat collecting in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done.
You're trying to work. It's probably in your eyes and everything.
So then eventually, like years later, now I'm minus that 75 pounds, and my daughter was like, grow out your hair again. I was like, okay, well, I'm doing it. And I just needed that little extra drive to do it again. So I was like, okay, all the right factors are in place, so I'm just gonna do it and go for it and see how long I can get it and go from there.
Dude,
my
hell yeah.
original intent was to grow it out long enough that I could cut it and donate it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was always from the ponytail back.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that you could do the Coolio and then cut it
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I wasted that hair because it would have been at that point. So I was so bummed that I could have done it, but
Hey, you got another
Still
chance.
can.
yeah, still can.
Yeah.
Still can.
Dude, we got to touch on the 75 pounds, man. That's a huge transformation, and what a cool journey, like, to go through with that. I mean, what was your drive to get into fitness, and then, I mean, but not just like kind of lose a couple and be okay. I mean, you busted ass, dude.
Massive
Like,
lifestyle change.
Yeah.
That is the culmination of being out of breath, walking up a few steps, to doing the truffle shuffle when I was brushing my teeth. Like, that was super defeating. Like, everything was shaking when I was going to brush my teeth. And just seeing photos of myself, I looked at them like, oh, like I cringed
Really,
at certain points. And that was probably one of the things why I cut my hair, because I looked like a homeless, obese werewolf. Like, it was, the beard was long and scraggly, and then the hair was growing out, and it was in that weird, awkward stage, so I couldn't really do anything with it. And I was like, it was just too much.
Yeah.
But I needed to make that change too, because of tattooing. I'm sitting down all day.
Right.
I'm being hunched over, and my lower back, like, I'll have spasms. And luckily now, having good core strength is the one thing that helps cancel that out.
Yeah.
But there'd be times where I'm bent over 6 to 8 hours in a day, and if I did that the whole week, I'd go to get up, and it would be the shooting pain up my back. It would drop me to the floor. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk.
Oh,
and I'd be
man.
out for a few days where I couldn't even, like, I would have to turn my entire body to look at you kind of thing.
Wow.
And then if I made too quick of a turn, it would send that same jolt up my back and go, oh, and then I'd hit the floor again. So that was like, okay, I need to change this because this is not good at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I started out by doing CrossFit, and that helped knock out a lot of the weight. And then it was a matter of changing my diet and then kind of fine tuning it to where it's like, okay, like this is, once I started doing that, I really saw like all the weight just dropping now to the point of where I can just kind of, I'm in maintenance mode.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from here, if I want to drop more weight or if I want to try and put on more weight, I can kind of go from there and do it in a healthy way.
Was there any intimidation going into CrossFit as a out of shape, overweight guy going in
With
for
a
the
back
first time
injury?
with a back injury? How was it getting started?
It was a little terrifying, but I will say that I did it maybe back in 2012, and I did it one time, and I loved it because it was that drive and that kick in the butt that you'd get. Like when I would play football, I used to play football in high school, and I had kind of longed for that kind of
like
intensity.
a coach pushing you kind of thing. Yeah.
And so I did it one time with my brother and sister-in-law up in Modesto, and I was like, I kind of kicked myself in the butt for not doing it since then. But I started it. I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I was actually running for a while. I was like, okay, I need to lose weight, so I'm going to start running. And all that was doing was building endurance, and it wasn't doing any kind of like fat loss. It just kept my like motor for long distance good, but that was pretty much it. So once I did that,
Got to build the muscle.
Yeah. So I already had a little bit of knowledge in terms of weightlifting, like correct form in certain scenarios.
From football.
Deadlifting and all that other stuff. But it was just a matter of now we're doing Olympic lifting. So then it was that getting into that stuff was really, really fun for me. But it was definitely scary. Like I couldn't get up a rope to save my life when I first started, and that was like that for my almost entire life. I didn't know how to climb a rope until I started doing it, and I started dropping the weight. I was like, oh crap,
Who
I'm
knew?
up 15 feet. Holy shit, don't fall. But yeah, it was a little intimidating at first, but a lot of the people, I will say it's kind of culty, you know, but everybody kind of welcomes you with open arms, where it's like, hey, we were there at some point too. Like whether I might have been heavier than you are, or I might have been a little overweight, but we've all been there. So it's like everybody's there to kind of help push you and drive you to share like the same end goal. Even if they finish before you or you've finished before them, like everybody's striving to the same thing.
As long as you keep showing up,
Exactly.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Now, did you have any moments in that process when you were, when your body was really changing that you were, kind of wanted to give up or be like, I'm over this, or you just kind of crushed it all the way through?
I had to just keep going. That's what it was. I think there was some times where I think my wife got more annoyed because of my diets that I were on. Like it's just, I can only eat certain things at certain times, and she wanted to eat something else, and she would get really like, she would call me out. Like we'd go eat out to breakfast, and I'm here getting egg whites and chicken and avocado, and then she's getting French toast. She's like, F you. Like you make me look like the whale, and here you are with your egg whites. Like, thanks, bro. You can just have a donut or something. I'm sorry.
Just break it today.
I think the hardest part though, when I first started out, was I was going at 6 a.m, which for me is just hard. So getting up at 5:30 ish, there's times where it's like I would go to bed before with my gym clothes on.
Okay.
So that way, if I got up at 5:50, I'm rolling out of bed. Just
warm up run.
Tires, right? Yeah, go straight to the gym. So that was a little bit more of a struggle.
Okay.
Is doing it super early in the morning, and then it just kind of became routine.
Yeah.
And then I actually ended up changing it around to where I go in at 9. Or I used to go in at 9.
Okay.
So that way my brain was just a little bit more awake.
Yeah.
So that was probably the toughest part. But I also got involved with competing, so that was also a fun,
that's a huge
driving
driver.
factor. Yeah. So then that's more of less of dealing with the trauma of like body trauma of like your body being sore or just your joints hurting a little bit. But it was fun, a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
And now with the shape that you're in, I mean, has this overall helped your tattooing too? I mean, because you had mentioned the core strength, you don't have maybe the back pain and stuff. Is there any other benefits that it's brought to you in career-wise?
I think it's just more mental focus.
Yeah.
Because knowing that, I mean, you can put yourself through the ringer with these crazy exercises. It's like if you can survive that, then and you still keep that drive, that intensity, like it's just a matter of carrying that same thing over to your tattoos and not being distracted, just kind of staying focused and keep your eyes down and get to work. So
Nice.
it definitely helps.
Yeah. Dude,
Just
good
Nice.
stuff.
Discipline is what it
I'm
is.
motivated,
Yeah.
man.
It
I've
is.
been kind of on and off the fitness train this year. I got to get back on.
Dude, everybody has been, myself included.
Yeah.
It's going to come back
With vengeance.
in a
With
big time
Yeah.
way. And
It's crazy though with all the gym equipment that was like, people were insane. They're sharks and thieves for.
They're
hiking
still
it up.
doing
Like,
it, dude.
I mean,
yeah.
good for them for making money, but at the same time, it's like you have a rower that normally costs like $900. I've seen them for like $3,200.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me?
Dude, I was on the Facebook Marketplace the other day just looking for some dumbbells. I just wanted some 50s.
Yeah.
People were charging like $89, like $160 for like a set of used, busted up, like.
Which I think
Dumbbells.
typically like dumbbells will go. I think they're like $1.50 a pound.
Okay, yeah.
So it just depends on where you like. Amazon, I think, has some really good ones.
Okay.
They're pretty. I think they're probably taking them from the same factory that they're getting all the other ones made out of.
Yeah.
But it just says Amazon
Oh,
on
it's
it.
like the basics.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's this guy that I follow on Instagram. It's as many reviews as possible, and he
Yeah.
posts up stuff about the Amazon like
Basic
workout
stuff, yeah.
equipment, and it's totally fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I got to look into that, actually. Maybe get some Amazon.
so perfect opportunity. Home Bells. Check out at Home Bells. Our boy Marshall Shakro.
Boom.
Yeah.
He and some friends started up a company. They're making concrete dumbbells. He started dipping them actually, so you get that. What is it
Like
called when
rubber
it's
coating?
cured? When the concrete is cured, whatever. It's dipped, so
Yeah.
it's not giving up silica dust
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
But
It's
they're
stronger.
far more affordable. Home Bells. Check them out on Instagram
I'll have to
at
check 'em out, too.
Home Bells. They're bigger, obviously, because the
Yeah.
concrete is not as heavy as the steel or whatever other metal materials. So your 40s are going to be like this big around.
It just
But
makes you feel
at
like,
least affordable dumbbells.
Just
Yeah.
makes you feel like you're lifting that much more weight.
Exactly.
It-
Stoked on
It
it.
looks cool.
It
Like,
looks
dude,
great.
We were pumping them, and we're just like, they're
Dude.
giant things. It's pretty rad.
All right, Alonzo, you've got what we would call a low ball position there. Again, need to just duly comment on how perfectly put together. Did you do this, or does your wife do it for you?
And bless her heart, she used to help me, especially during the COVID time, which I'm glad I was able to remain indoors. It was at that point where I could do a partial ponytail and the back end needed to be clipped.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I need you to help me. And I had one haircut back in October.
Okay.
And I think I started growing out my hair in April or May. So it wasn't like too far into the process, but it was just enough to where it laid back a bit better.
Yeah.
My hair is super curly. Like when I take this out and I wash it, it just super twisted.
Really?
curls. Yeah.
You look like you have like hair similar to Gus's actually, but then
No,
it's super curly. Yeah,
super curls.
Interesting.
What do you have product in there to keep it down? And
So I've been using it's a beard oil, Honest Amish, I think it is.
I've heard
it's
of
like
them.
like a what is it? A beard wax. or
Beard
something
oil,
like
beard
that.
conditioner.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
a leave-in conditioner.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a tamer to kind of keep all the wild scragglies in
Okay.
check. So I've just been using that just because it says leave-in conditioner and it's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a few things that are good. So I've just been using that. But before it was like I had to douse my hair in hairspray and just to kind of keep it locked
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
And then of course, like when I was working out, I'd use the what is it called? The Karate Kid head.
Oh yeah, the head wraps, the
Yeah.
flow
The
life.
Flow Life.
Flow
Yeah.
Life, I would use that, and that was my saving grace because it would keep everything intact.
Sweet.
If not, I'd go to bend over to pick up the barbell, and then hair would flop forward.
Yeah.
It's required.
Exactly.
You have to
now,
do it. The head wraps.
thankfully, at the point to where it's all in there, no help needed. But
Okay.
that little bit of that Honest Amish works great because then
Nice.
it's
All right.
leave-in conditioner. I don't have to put anything else in it. It's going to dry out my hair.
And it's not going to be like gross later if you do
Exactly.
sweat. Like
Yeah.
it's conditioned. It's
even
not like
if
a
it's
gel
in
or
your
a
eyes,
pomade.
It's just normal.
Yeah.
It's not really too bad. Whereas like any kind of gel or product, it gets in your eyes. And you're like, ah.
Yeah.
Dude, you picked up a few head wraps. I don't know, a month ago or so. How'd
Yeah.
those work out for you?
They're great. I love them.
Okay.
I use them every time I work out, which is
Awesome.
like 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah, killer. I
And
know.
even my wife stole a couple of them because there's been times where she needs to get their hair out of her
Yeah,
face, so
yeah.
she'll just rock them too. I'm like, okay, that's
Perfect.
fine.
They're great.
Yeah.
Honestly, working out, like, just
It's
you don't
all
have
you
to
need
deal
to
with your
work
hair
out.
while you're
Yeah.
working out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Going back to the hair being on the back of the neck.
Yes.
You're sweaty, you're hot, you're a mess, and all you need is just the hair needs to be out of the way. And I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what I look like. I just need it gone. So the headband works really well, or the head wrap.
And if you happen to look like a badass at the same time, then
So-
hey, even
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
That'd be it.
Exactly.
Hey, one other topic, staying on your hair for a minute, that I've noticed is a topic that we have been covering a little bit more lately is the back of the neck. Some guys will prefer to trim it and keep it like real nice and square, where others will let that stuff grow out. I personally have started letting it grow out up here, and it's taken a little while to where it will actually go in with the rest when I tie it up. But it looks like you've had the all-natural, free-flowing approach. Do you not trim?
I've had the all natural, only because I haven't been able to go to.
All right. Well, hey, it's a great reason. Same reason I'm basically too.
So beforehand, it was like everything would be nice and in there, and then maybe an hour later, I would just have this little poodle poop.
Yes, dude.
Oh, and I was
Coming
like,
out the sides.
I'm like with shears, and my wife's like, "Don't cut them, let them grow, so that way you can put it all the way up." And I'm like,
Yes.
all right, fine. So I did that. I let it ride, so to speak, and now it's up in there, and I hardly have any kind of little scraggles or anything like that.
Nice. That's almost a little mini awkward stage in itself.
yeah.
I could see it in my own shadow, like looking down. I
Just a
could
little
see
tuft.
these little tufts coming out on the sides. It's just driving me nuts. But yeah, it's great, man. The flow's coming in excellent. How long would it be if you brought it?
So if I pull down the front, it's a little bit past my chin now.
Okay.
So it's sitting like with my hair down. It'll sit probably at shoulders.
Great.
Okay.
In the game.
Yep.
Got the full low ball going. I mean, you're full-fledged long hair.
Yeah, totally.
We were waiting for you to get in.
And I got my son on board too, so he's
Oh,
got long hair.
nice.
He's going for the whole he's only 4, but he's going like flashbacks to early 2000s of My Chemical Romance, where he likes the hair in his face, and Dark Soul, and
Yes.
emo boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty funny.
Dude, just rocking.
So wait,
it.
a son? You have 2 daughters and a son?
I have a boy and a girl.
Oh, okay.
My daughter's the oldest, and then my son.
Okay, sorry, I misread on your website. You paint your little girls' nails, just the one girl. You paint her nails. Do you still get some cool? You still getting commissioned to do that on the weekends?
I haven't as of recently. She's been wanting to paint mine. So,
Oh, all right. You're like, all right, here you
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you just put your hands
I don't
out.
care. Yeah, but now she'll be turning 6 this year, and there's times where it's like my wife's getting ready or doing her nails, and then we have little kits for her that are like kid friendly. So then she just paints her nails while my wife is painting hers.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah, my 3-year-old for the first time asked to paint all my nails the
Yeah?
other day. Yeah.
And?
I was like, we'll do it on the weekend. Let's do it this weekend.
Who cares?
Try to buy a couple more
Push
days.
that one off a few days. Kick that can down the road. Maybe she'll
that's
forget.
happening.
She's not gonna forget.
No, she's not
It's
going to.
prime front of her
Yeah, exactly.
mind. She's just waiting for it.
I think my daughter recently painted my nails, and I think they were like this turquoise color. And I was like, well, if it was black, I would say just go for it, paint my fingers.
Yeah.
But I was like, just paint my toes and call it done.
Yeah, there you go.
I know they had
I think I,
pink
like,
too. That
rocked
was
it
all
for
that
a
was
week,
left.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the inaugural feet painting,
Mm-hmm.
toe painting.
Mm-hmm.
Should be good times.
All right, Lonzo, something
Yeah, go for
that's
it.
been out in the universe.
Uh-oh.
Not saying, it's going to come, whatever, but just been kicking this idea around of a small membership badge, if you will. And we're talking about the bound shears, just the flat version, not the full detailed version.
Well, wait, we got to preface it with the other dudes. So there's 4 other guys
Yes.
who have blasted the logo
Okay.
giant.
Yeah,
Like,
because I know Matt.
Matt did the one. That
Matt
was
did one.
Sam. All 4 of these men are now in glorious brotherhood. They're forever enshrined in the Longhairs Hall of Fame. If you get the Bound Shears tattooed on you, your life, bro, for one thing. But more
Free hair ties whenever you want.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
For
These
sure.
are these guys have been doing the big ones.
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
said, we're talking about doing something smaller.
Okay.
What
Just we want to have kind of the secret, so we're kind of thinking like, you flash it, like so. We're like that's why kind of the inside
On the
wrist
wrist?
right here
Yeah.
makes sense, So
was that on the
Just
handshake
like
too?
on your
Exactly.
hat, too, just
Yeah.
silhouette.
probably that same size right there, actually. I
Simple
think.
enough.
Yeah, just a little boom boom, but.
How long will that
I
take
don't
you?
know.
Half an hour
At most.
per,
Yeah, so long as you can sit for it. That's it.
right?
We might need to get you and Matt together. We do a Longhairs badge.
Yeah.
Badging
initiation.
ceremony initiation. We actually considered asking if you wanted to bring your tattoo machine in for this podcast and actually do it live. But
I don't know if I'd be able to fully articulate what I'm trying to say at times. I'm just,
yeah, exactly. It was like let's keep podcast to podcast, and then if the universe decides that this is going to come back around, we could set it up for another.
What do you think about that, though?
Yeah, just what are
I'm down.
your thoughts?
Yeah.
That's as from a professional guy.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem, huh? All right. Which way?
You could even do it like in terms of concealment, like hide it more toward the inside, so long as it doesn't wrap.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that way it's like wrist down. You can't see it.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Right.
But then
Ooh.
when you rotate your wrist out, then you can actually see it on the inside.
I like that.
No, wait.
I
In terms
like
of
that.
the orientation, up or down.
Yeah, I think it's gotta go
Brian
that way.
Morehouse did it to where if he's like holding a bar, now it's
Yeah.
up and down.
see.
Yeah.
But you're saying more do it the other way to where if I look down at it, it's in the proper
That way you can
orientation.
flash it low. Flash it low. You can see it.
Pretty damn good.
Okay.
See a guy across the street, be like,
Check it out.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a lot more tattoos we both want to get, so we'll talk to you about the bigger project.
Okay.
But this is a fun little idea we had the other day. We're like, we got to bring this up
Yeah.
to them. Like, that'd
I'm
be
game.
so cool.
another shout out to the lifetime Longhairs Hall of Fame members who have the Bound Shears emblazoned on their bodies, in some cases 12 inches high and
know.
perfect HD.
That big.
Dude,
12.
Maybe not
yeah,
that big, but
both
I'll bet.
the forearm guys went from here to here.
Oh, dang.
So the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think Sam's maybe not 12 inches, but it's every bit of 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Like that's the one that Matt did
Uh-huh.
on
It
the
looked
guy's
pretty big.
shoulder. Yeah. I mean, that's good. It's close to 12 inches. I mean, that's a good size, no matter who you are.
Oh, man.
So, I don't know, man. It might have to be the official badge of membership.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, it's in the universe.
I'm game.
All right. Well,
Gravitational pull.
dude, let's kind of hear about some of the places people can find you. That's already been an hour here. We're up
wow.
at our time here. So yeah, what website, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you got.
So you can find me on Instagram at Alonzo Villa Tattoo. And
Okay.
then my website is www.alonzovilla.com.
Sweet.
Simple enough.
And that's it.
That's it.
And hit them hard in the
Yep.
DMs, guys. But remember, fill
DMs.
out that fill out that form. You got to fill out the form on the website, or you just immediately cut. So
That's the way. There's a process. There's an established protocol. This is how we do things. And if
Follow
you
the
try to
protocol.
circumvent the procedure, then you're going to get left on the outside looking in.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, anything else you guys want to add, or I
No.
mean, I feel like am I cutting us off too quick here? I'm just trying to stick on our time.
Yeah, no, I just want to, like, being across the way we linked up with Sierra and all you guys, Matt, all you guys over there and became homies years
Yeah.
ago. And to have you come in is a treat for us.
stoked.
Totally,
On the
man. I really
podcast.
appreciate it.
Have the great flow. We're glad to have you in the brotherhood.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
And just stoked, man. Wish you well in your career. It's awesome to see another professional who's like really in the higher echelon of
Yeah.
tattoo
Thank you.
industry, which is not not an easy place to get to. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for coming in, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, boys. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that show. Many more to come here on the new channel. Please subscribe, like, throw us down a comment. Tell us what you think. Are you guys tatted? Are you tatted? What's your experience getting tattooed? Are you thinking about getting the Bound Shears tatted on you? Little secret. We're going to do it. We're all going to do it, man. But more on that to come later, guys. This episode, as always, is brought to you by Hair Ties for Guys, the finest hair ties in the world. You can find them and many other fantastic products for your manly mane over at thelonghairs.us. And boys, shampoo and conditioner's back in stock over there. So get your hands on it before we run out again, because let me tell you what, it's flying fast. There's also some other variation bottles. You guys wanted leaders? We brought you leaders. So head on over to thelonghairs.us, guys, to get everything you need for that head of lettuce. Until next time, yeah, see ya!